it's time to adjust those shoulder pads, back comb what's left of your hair, and jump into the DeLorean for a look back at what's possibly the best decade anyone could ever have grown up in.
Shall we play a game?
This is Bring Back the 80s with your hosts James Alderson and me, Andy Jackson. Here we go. Welcome along to another edition of the Bring Back the 80s podcast, number 6.
No.
Number 6.
It isn't.
Oh my God.
What's that in French?
That is far too many.
Cease.
Set.
That's it. Set.
No,
that's
cease.
7.
Cease. We're off to a good start, aren't we?
We've travelled.
Welcome back to the lovely delights of the Spring Art Centre in Havant, where for the first time it is not like a sauna.
No, which is quite ironic considering we're doing travel and holidays.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? This episode, episode number 6, is looking back to the 80s, holidays and sort of coach trips, car trips, things like that, days out, because it was a totally different world then, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, I don't know why. Initially I thought, well, let's talk about the 80s and travelling abroad. And then I realised, no bugger went abroad. Nobody went anywhere. Not I remember. I think the first time I went abroad was in the 90s.
It was a luxury to go abroad. If you were lucky enough to go abroad, it would be like a once every 6 years, every 5 years. If you were lucky, it certainly wasn't like a yearly thing that people do now.
No, I mean, I went to quite a fancy school, even though I grew up in a council estate. So I had a lot of rich mates, and they always went off to. Well, it seemed to be Disneyland. That seemed to be the place they went. Or Disney World, Disneyland, and we went to Norfolk. And but it would always involve coach trips. But I don't know about you, Andy, but whenever we went on holiday anywhere, it was always to visit somebody. It never seemed to be just to free wheel and see where the road took you and let's go and explore. It was, we're going to see Auntie Vivian or Auntie Margaret, or we're going to Auntie Yvonne's, and that we're going to burden them with us for 5 days.
Everything had to be planned to the last degree as well, wouldn't it? It wouldn't just be like it was never any spontaneity.
No.
And it was like always, I don't know whether the same with the vehicle that you travelled in, it was always sort of hit or miss as to whether you were actually going to get there without breaking down. Yeah,
there was a lot of stopping at Happy Eaters and Little Chefs and random greasy spoons just to dip the oil and just check the
I was going to say, on a hot day as well, you would have to turn the car off to let the engine cool down.
It got very excited. And there'd always be a lot of travel of Dad doing this in the windscreen as he's driving, just holding the map out. You're like, Dad, look where you're going. Christ. And no sat navs. No, it was all just plan the map, plan the route, plan where we're going, and have some sort of folder of all the tickets and all the sort of itinerary of the holiday.
And always with the map as well. It doesn't. I mean, I know it's like a cliche thing, but wherever you were going, it was always either between 2 pages, or it was right in the fold of the middle. It was always just on that one bit. Never in the middle there, was it? Never ever
you couldn't
in the
find
bit.
It. No, all worn out on the paper. Yeah, loved it. I mean, and on the back shelf there'd be a tartan rug and some man-sized tissues, not just tissues, man-sized tissues, which you're not allowed to say now, or ladies' tights. You can't say that. Probably, I don't know. But and now they're just big tissues, bloody big. It says it on the packaging, bloody big tissues. Christ, these are big tissues. It says on the box. Careful, they're like this. It's like that. Blow your nose. Yeah, I'll have a tissue, and obviously a tin of weirdly dusty boiled sweets, the circular tin.
Yeah, remember those? It's about sort of that size.
In the centre console, if you were posh enough to afford a centre console in the car, and it would have these, and you would open them, and there'd be like a puff of dust. The whole car, like the airbags had gone off. Don't have a sweet. I'm doing 60. 60. That's crazy. 50.
I've been thinking about it. It's bizarre to think that you had to have sweets, especially for the car.
Yeah.
Because you would never have travel sweets.
No.
Anywhere else in your life. Always, these are the sweets for the car.
Yeah.
These are the travel sweets.
Yeah.
And you never took travel sweets on a coach or on a plane. If you were lucky, obviously, always just like you say in the centre console of the car.
I think they came as a standard optional extra with an Austin Allegro. A golden tin with sweets in, and every 8 years when you jumped in for a journey that was more, it was every summer, wasn't it? You went somewhere on a long journey up to Blackpool or down to, I don't know, Devon or somewhere, or even into London. You crack out those sweets from the glove box and hope there was some nice ones left. Well, they were. They're always stuck together.
It's always the worst flavours, obviously.
Of course.
Always got left to the end.
But when we were travelling, they did long travelling, we always had one of these pack of top trumps. Did you play? This is sports cars, obviously. There's a free pack offer inside, so feel free to have a little look and send that off. But top trumps was the ultimate on a coach journey, on holiday, or on a train, or if you're on the plane, you'd sit there and play top trumps, and that was just eternal fun. You'd have them for all sorts.
And the idea was that your card had to have a better spec than somebody else's card. Like, for instance, just at random here, I'm looking at the Lancia Monte Carlo.
Of course you are, yeah.
Which is a beautiful, beautiful car.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Number of cylinders.
Of at least 3.
Engine capacity. Quite a lot, yeah.
I'm a car man. Don't test me.
Revolutions per minute.
No.
Weird. Can you imagine that this is like the thing that used to just keep us quite happy?
I mean, it didn't keep me happy. I was an only child, Andy, but thanks for mentioning that. Just sat on my own, playing with myself. Not with playing with myself. Stop doing that. I'm trying to concentrate. No. So, yes, I didn't play with myself on the top trumps. I had... Weirdly, as an only child, I had a lot of top trumps packs, so I think I was just sad and hoping I'd find someone to play with. If I keep buying top trumps, I'll get a friend eventually, or a brother or sister. But yeah, obviously the Tupperware, that was all part of it. You had to take your sandwiches.
Philadelphia, we always had Philadelphia in our phone. Philadelphia, spready cheese.
Tell you what, eh?
Living the dream.
Only bags, London.
Living the dream.
Once again, Philadelphia. I don't think we'd even heard of that. Was it French and Saunders who did the advert for Philadelphia?
I think it was.
Or was it just Dawn French, or one of them? But that was, I think, the first time I even heard about Philadelphia. I think all we had was just butter, or maybe.
Philadelphia was just, I don't know why Philadelphia was a thing in our family, but it was always, and at the time I hated Philadelphia sandwiches.
You still hate it?
I could take it or leave it now, but I positively hated them back in those days. Maybe it's just a way that my mum and dad had more sandwiches than we did.
Yeah,
give
maybe.
Something we don't like.
yeah. But fish paste was a big one, wasn't it? Crab paste and all that stuff, beef paste. I used to have Monster Munch sandwiches. Sandwiches, chunky sandwich, wrapped up in foil, of course. And then because we couldn't always afford to stop at a Little Chef, James. That's what they said to me. And but when we did stop at Little Chef, of course, I would eat it all so that I could get a little boiled sweet lolly at the end of it.
Is it the Little Chef that used to do the Olympic breakfast? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Probably was.
It was like just it sounded amazing, didn't it?
And it was all day breakfast. It was one of the first ones.
It was just a breakfast. At the end of the day, sausages, bacon, eggs, the usual stuff.
Yeah.
They put the word Olympic in front of it. It makes it sound a little bit more exciting somehow.
Wasn't it because it had eight items? Or
maybe. I didn't work that out.
I don't want to blow anybody's minds here, but the Olympic might mean 8 items because they whack chips in, tomatoes. I mean, God, who had vegetables in the 80s? Or is it a salad? No, it's a fruit. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, the Olympic meal, the Olympic breakfast, was a big one. Happy Eaters. I preferred a Happy Eater, I'll be honest. And we've got a thermos up there, of course, because you didn't travel anywhere in the 80s without a thermos flask. Tomato soup usually, and I just had to watch my rich friends bring me back something from Disneyland.
What was this whole thing about as well? You mentioning the thermos flask there. It used to be people's idea to you drive past them on the lay-by, they would be having a picnic. Yeah. You'd be going to somewhere nice, like the seaside or something.
Stonehenge,
but they would be properly camped out in a lay-by with 2 lanes of traffic whizzing by. But that would be, it was like, it's almost like you're not allowed to eat in the car.
No, it's a little stop-off, wasn't it? I mean, people didn't. I don't think... Back then, I never saw everyone with a Ginster's pasty in their gob driving at 70 miles an hour. You might have dared to pass back that tin of sweets, but you never drove eating stuff.
Not a proper meal.
You never see anyone with a drink as they're driving down the road. I mean, mind you, the cars were a nightmare to drive, weren't they? With the choke and the 4 gears at 70. I mean, that was hairy. So you weren't going to pick up a thermos, so that's me. Just pour me a tomato soup whilst I try and get this bastard into 4th gear.
The reason why, of course, that your hands were busy with the car, because certainly in my family as well, obviously everybody's hands were full of cigarettes, lighters, all the paraphernalia that goes with that. And I can still remember being in the car as a child with my little brother, and I'd have my mum and my grandma in the front of the car, all the windows closed, they'd be smoking away. No wonder that I ended up, sadly, as a smoker for a while. Luckily,
you had to wean yourself off slowly.
I think it was like I was, born to smoke
Yeah.
at the time. There was no choice.
No
matter.
Well, it was everywhere.
Everybody
I've got here
smoked.
because you know how much I hate smoking, and I hated it, and I hated ashtrays. This is the ultimate thing. If you caught a train anywhere going on holiday, you would see these everywhere.
Just describe it for people who are just listening, James.
Oh, that noise is an ashtray from a British rail carriage that was tipping out. So if you accidentally need it as you sat down on the chair, you'd end up emptying the contents of an ashtray of British rail onto your trousers or your slacks or your A-line skirt. Oh, yes, your Ferris.
I was just wondering, James, how on earth would you come across one of those British Rail ashtrays?
Well, I'm pleased you asked then.
Screwed it and been and gone in there and taken it away as a souvenir.
I spent a lot of time in the railway sidelines. So can I say I like walking around the docks and service stations. I found it randomly in a shop because there are shops for people like me and or asylums. It depends how you look at it.
I'm just going to say treatment for people like me as well.
If you think it's tricky doing a podcast, bringing out an ashtray, you want to be me in the kitchen about a week ago when I come home with it. Like, are you mental? I might be. The thing is, I've got a coach one here as well, and this is what haunted me, because you go on a coach trip on holiday, it might be going away for a few days with school, and that ashtray was at 5 inches from your nose when you were sat for 5 hours on a coach.
And it would always be full because they're never going to empty them.
Well, even the empty ones, when they knew that kids were getting on, maybe they would still be full of ash, and it was the worst. And they never. I mean, those coach drivers were angry most of the time, and they didn't like kids anyway, and they didn't like driving. They didn't like roads. They didn't like Stonehenge. I definitely didn't want to be driving to the Portsmouth Dockyard the 84th time that day. Did you ever go to the Portsmouth Dockyard as a school trip?
Many. I've taken my kids to the dockyard.
Yeah. You see, I went to school in Portsmouth, but the default trip with school was Portsmouth Dockyard. I was like, I don't want to go to Portsmouth Dockyard. I can see it from my bedroom. I couldn't, but you know what I mean. I guess the other thing that you did, first trip abroad for most kids, was an 80s French exchange trip. And I don't know if this was a London thing. You probably didn't do it in London. Did you do it in London?
There were definitely exchange trips.
There were exchange trips. Okay.
Well, if you think about it now, how bizarre is it that your parents would let you go off and live with strangers? You didn't know these. There was no internet, so you didn't know what they were like. You were just taking their word for the fact that they were not.
And aged 11 or 12, you'd go and you would just walk into their house, sit at their dinner table, and this would help you learn French. Well, that is the biggest load of bollocks I've ever heard. I was the fussiest eater you've ever known in your life. They presented stuff that I'd never seen before, because it definitely wasn't Findus crispy pancakes or waffles or fish fingers. And it was a myriad of colour. There was vegetables, fruit, hams, meats, cheeses, breads, and stuff that I didn't recognise. The worst thing about it was I couldn't bloody find out what it was because they weren't very good at English, and I boddle bloody.
This is the thing about going on, especially on a trip to, it's an exchange trip to France, and it persists to this day as well. They just will not speak English, which I guess was the point.
It was the point.
Picking up French, wasn't it? But I suppose if you had somebody come from...
How English is that? They will not speak English. Who are these people? French, I tell you, we should hate them.
But when they came over to stay with families here, would we make the effort to speak French, or did we just instantly all default to English?
My mum didn't know a bloody word. She didn't know a word of French. So when he came over, Gregor, his name was, my French exchange student, which is French for Gregory. I picked up a few things. I tell you what annoyed me was when we went to France, the families turned up like it was some sort of hostage situation to take us off the coaches, under gunpoint, distribute us to the families, and off we went for 3 days. And then and on the fourth day, our school would arrange to take us on a trip somewhere, right? And then we go back to the families for another day or two, and then there'd be another school trip arranged by my school, and then we go home. When the French guys came over here, Their school did nothing. They just dumped him on us, and my school had to arrange trips to Portsmouth Dockyard. Hey, what a surprise.
All beginning to become clear now as to why it was always Portsmouth Dockyard.
Yeah, it's the easiest, wasn't it? I mean, Gregor, bless him, was a nice guy, and he was all right, but I wasn't the best exchange student. As I say, I was about 12, and I quickly discovered that in their house, their TV had porn.
Like a dream come true.
No. Wrong phrasing, Andy. And I remember discovering it, and it was just there 24/7 on their telly, and they'd flick past it and they're like, oh, and move on. And I'm trying to eat some charcuterie here, or whatever it was, and I was like, hang about, what was that? In front of their mum and dad, and Gregor was like, oh, no. So off they all went to bed, and I creeped downstairs, put the telly back on. The worst. Can you imagine them sat out? No, thank God I couldn't speak French.
Yeah.
They would go, pervert downstairs watching porn in our lounge.
Isn't that weird, though, that in European countries, even back then, porn on the telly was just a normal thing.
It was normal, and it was on all the time. And my little brain, the only time we would ever find any porn was in bushes and just ripped up pages in the corner of a bush. And that would be like, oh my God, the porn fairy. Why do we always get onto porn? Anyway, this isn't what this topic is about. But it was, seeing it in France on a school trip, it made the whole thing worthwhile.
Well, there we go. I'm glad we got there.
And when I had
worthwhile for you,
I had to do a little school review. What was your best thing about your trip, Alderson? They're like, wow, no, I'm right that bit. No, I loved going to the train station. And we had to obviously take photos everywhere we went. I've got albums and albums of that album up there, and obviously with the true print and all this stuff. You had to take your camera everywhere you went and come back and stick it all into photo albums.
It's a weird thing that film cameras are beginning, like everything comes around.
Yeah.
Film cameras are now beginning to make a comeback, like vinyl and cassettes.
Yeah.
Now, my son, who's 20, has got a film camera.
Really?
Yeah.
Stop him.
And it's like a really big deal to only be able to take one photo a day because they're so blooming expensive to get developed.
Well, that's good. He'll learn patience, won't he? Send it off to Troop. It's Trooper still a thing? I don't
know where he gets it developed. I guess he's
specialist niche museum.
But he's it's kind of cheating as well, because although he takes it, this is where I completely lose the plot of what's going on. He is taking the photos on film, and then he gets them sent off to be developed. But they send the pictures back to him as files, not as
files on email or some sort of web thing. Oh, that totally defeats the object.
That's what I thought.
Because he's going to send it off, and he'll probably get it back within 3 days. That's easy peasy. That doesn't teach you anything. What you've got to get is your photos back with stickers over them saying this is naughty, or don't do this, or sorry this is blurred but we're a bit shit. And I always found it weird that you'd go and get them processed in chemists, pharmacies.
Yeah.
What were pharmacies anything to do with photos? I mean, did they have a lab out the back for making medicine?
They must have all had a lab out the back.
I reckon they had a lab for medicines and a lab for photos, and they're like, oh, don't get these mixed up. We don't want to be processing these with amphetamines or whatever. I don't know what they were doing out the back, but I would always be worried, because you'd use up the film, wouldn't you, at the end of your holiday?
Yeah.
And you'd have about 5 photos to take, and I'd always take a few random ones. And
you have to use up the roll at the end, wouldn't you? Just take random, because you got some good stuff. There would be that time where you just could not wait. So you just take random snaps just to use up the film.
The dog by the fire, your nan sleeping or something, and but it was £4 or something mental. £5, £6 for 20. When they brought out, was it 28? Because it used to be 14 to a film, wasn't it? And then I think they did 24 or 28, and that was mind blowing. I was like, this is mental.
And then there was the 30s. If you had like the posh cameras, the 35mm.
Yeah.
You could get up to 36.
I don't believe that.
36.
No, that can't be right. You definitely wouldn't use that up on a holiday. Thing is, you have to take photos on holidays posed. Now it's like some sort of machine gun or flicker book. You get back from a holiday and it's like that's him moving left leg, right, walking to the beach.
This is the weird thing. My other son has got like a normal camera, but he's got rather than his phone, he's got a camera that he borrowed. He took, and on the same day out that my son number 1 took one photo for the day, He took over 600 photos.
Shit.
Over 600 photos. So just, so you do, I suppose you do, if you're taking 600 photos, one out of those 600 must be a good one, surely.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have done that. Boots, I think, would have had to shut for the day if you turned up.
Just be really glad that image. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
But sometimes you got a free film. If you send it off to TruePrint, you would send it off and they would say, send it off and pay your money. How did you pay for it? I can't remember. Probably put a check in.
A postal order, probably.
Was it?
Postal order.
Post it off and then they'll send you a free film. They're like, wow, that's a good deal. It isn't, because you're paying 10 quid for 28 photos or whatever. But yeah, I used to enjoy it. Do you want a look in my special lunchbox?
I'd look in your special lunchbox.
I tell you why I say that is because I haven't got one this week, Andy. Because it's a special moment, because I know it's your birthday coming up, isn't it?
It is my birthday.
And you're going away.
I am going away.
So what I've got you is I've got you a birthday card, which you can open now. Don't save it. And it's got a little surprise in there for you, because I know you going away. And
look at this. Look, I was not expecting
something inside for you.
You a happy birthday inside.
Yeah. And I've given you this, and I want you to be careful because it's spending money for your holiday.
Look at this. It's a £1 note. That's going to last the whole holiday.
Don't go crazy.
Not going to spend it all at once.
No, don't.
Not going to spend that all at once. Thank you, James.
That's all right. I mean, in the earlier, that's because when you were going on holiday, your nan would often give you £1. Or your mum's friend would give you £1. Go,
when you were 5, that was amazing. When you were 16, £1 again.
I remember, I think it must have been early to mid-80s, the £1 coin came out. Mid-80s, yeah. And my mum gave me a £1 coin as I came out of school. And I remember thinking, oh, chocolate coin, lovely. You see where I'm coming from? I don't know why. Chocolate coin, great. And then when I put it in my hand, I thought, oh, what is this? Because we hadn't had golden coins.
No.
And I thought, oh, what a letdown. It's not a chocolate coin. And then I realised it's about 7 chocolate bars, that quid. So yeah, we're all right. We're on to a winner. But yeah, £1 notes, £5 notes. If it was like a big birthday or a rich relative, you get a £5. Game on.
To put that away, though, to go away, you have to put it in your savings.
Yeah, don't spend. You can't have all of that.
Yeah,
you can't have all of that. Just take £1 on holiday.
Sweets.
Yeah, we'll go to the Midland Bank and we'll put that £4 of that in, because I don't want you spending it on silly things like computer games and stuff you might enjoy. Just another pack of Top Trumps, and then we're going on holiday. That's good times.
Can we just quickly say hello to everybody who took part in last time's mystery sound competition?
People. I don't know why.
Loads of people. And this was the sound that we had last time.
It's a tricky one, that one.
It was, especially when you reached for your phone.
No, I didn't.
Where's my phone?
I can only apologise for my memory and losing things constantly. And it just happened to be that I'd lost my phone. I hadn't lost my phone, of course. How many times have you done that? I tell people that I'm on the phone to, I can't find my phone.
Yeah.
That's my phone. And they go, what are you talking to me on, you dickhead? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Mum. She's got dementia. I mean, I don't. Anyway, she's telling me where I've left things. That's worrying, isn't it?
That's very scary. I just want to say well done to our winner this week, who we can actually reveal for once at this exact moment.
Yeah.
And it's a message that came in from Mike. He says, hello, guys. This week's sound, is it a telephone with a rotary dial?
Well, he's got the full phrase in there.
He's got the whole thing. He says, I remember as a child at Christmas and birthdays, your parents would write down who got you what presents.
Oh, yeah.
You then had to phone each and every one of them up. You had to phone each and every one of them up to say thank you. My fingers would kill after dialing all those numbers, because it took like 2 minutes to dial every number, didn't it? I get my kids to do it, but they send the same generic text to everyone.
Oh,
same
giving the game away.
Cheating, isn't it?
I had to write thank yous to people. Phoning them, that's deadly, especially when you're 8. You have to phone your evil own Barbara.
Phone on the hall table.
You go sit at the end of the hall by the front door and make the calls. Yeah. And I remember, but dads would put the locks on the rotary dials, wouldn't they, to stop us making the calls and stop phoning anybody because it costs too much. But now we obviously can't actually access our kids' phones to see who they've been phoning. Bring the bills up to
180 degrees.
Locked us out. Get their own back.
Just want to say well done to Mike as well, who does get the choice of the Super Soft t-shirt or the tickets
to my show. Yeah, you can come along anytime you want, Mike. No, there's a few tickets left for every gig, but not many left for some of them, or not many left for most of them. So just message in on the way that you messaged in just then, and let us know if you want a t-shirt, which will be on sale very soon, in case you're shit at answering these.
You know, you were saying last time as well, it was weird how people listen to the show sometimes when they're running and things like this. Mike says that he listens to it at the gym while he's on the cross trainer.
Wow, clang. Look at that, you showing off at the gym.
I don't think cross trainers clang.
Isn't it?
I don't think they're clangers.
I'm a cross trainer. Anything involving training, I'm very angry. But well, you can have a t-shirt and use it just to mop yourself down, Mike, when you're sweating all the calories away. Well
Shall
done.
we do this week's as well?
Yeah, go on.
This one?
Yeah.
Right, this is one. Now, I don't know whether you will know this, and I think this is trickier than last week's, but this is it. Just give me a nod. That was it. It's just a quickie.
What?
Well, one more time. Here we go.
Oh.
Have you got it?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
If you know what that is, you can message us in one of millions of ways. Just send us a message on TikTok, Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called this week. Facebook, YouTube, in the comments. Send us an email.
Tweets,
all that kind of
Twitter,
stuff. If you want to find out the best ways to contact us, easiest way is to go to the little website, bringbackthe80spodcast.com.
We can send us a postcard.
Send us a postcard. Send us a stamped stressed envelope.
Do you remember every TV show used to say that? Oh, sent addressed envelope. And for about 10 years in the 80s, I thought, what does SAE stand for? That's absolutely mental. It's not even a word. SAE. My mum was like, it's a stamped addressed envelope, you silly idiot. Oh, I love you, mum. But yes, stamped addressed envelope. Send us that, and we'll post back a tiniest t-shirt, unless you send a big envelope. Don't send an envelope. You don't know our address. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Do you want an advert for a car that we would have perhaps gone on holiday in? Or do you want an advert for an actual holiday company?
Let's do a holiday one.
A holiday company. Okay, right. See if you can work this out. Now, this is a little bit niche. I know you were saying that we didn't go abroad very much. This was the kind of holiday that you could have gone on, should you wish to, in the 1980s. This was an actual genuine TV advert.
Freedom, fresh air, great countryside. That's Northumbria Horse Holidays. Discover Britain's big country on a superb riding holiday. Magnificent horses for both novice and experienced riders. You'll be in good company. Get this brochure from your travel agent now.
Now, I like the way that they've got like the Dallas music going on, and they've called it the big country.
Yeah.
Just to make it sound a little bit more exciting.
Did it say Northumbria?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Drive for 9 hours and then get on a horse. Well, thanks. Oh, God. I mean, the adverts that you watch back now, particularly the localized ones like that, where they're just a bit lo-fi and a little bit basic and a little bit amateur, you think, oh my God, how did we ever fall for any of this nonsense? Some of the holiday brochures and some of the trips and some, like we said before, cinema adverts where that probably would have been, come to Northumbria. Like, no, that advert has clinched it. I'm definitely never going.
You never thought about going on a horse, but now there's the time.
Who knew it was horse country in Northumbria? I didn't know it was horse country. Where is horse country? I don't know. New Forest. That probably would have been it.
Not even a phone number on the thing to phone. You just have to go into can you imagine going into travel agents and say, I'd like to book a holiday to a horse. I'd like a horse holiday in Northumbria.
Yeah, please. I'm doing that this afternoon. See what results I get. People are like, hey, here we go. We got another one. Horse riding and Northumbria. I mean, it seems too good to be true, doesn't it? But
perhaps something a little bit more, shall we say, regular, but rather if horses were not your thing.
Yeah.
How about this one for the first time?
Hello? I want to book a family holiday. Great value for money with action in the water. Fun fairs, great entertainment. I know it's asking a lot. Any ideas?
Butlins, of course.
If you like water sports, Butlins.
You want to go in the water? Go. It's wow. I mean, Butlins really came into its own, didn't it, in the 80s?
Yeah.
It sort of reinvented itself a little bit, and it was the place that you could go. I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it was cheaper than going abroad. So people went down, especially in Bognor, pop down there, take the kids. Water sport, not water slides. Adults only evening. But yeah, they would. Flumes, where you would go and just swim in everybody else's piss, and that was basically the holiday. You spent all your time in the pool and the water chutes and flumes, and then at night there'd be a crowd of kids around the stage whilst some lo-fi Mr. Tumble just entertained the kids. And then the parents would get
absolutely pissed.
Absolutely rat-ass. They might throw in a game of bingo for the grown-ups, whilst the kids just created carnage. And they'd have these little chalets or little flats or whatever. I think I went to one on a stag do in the 90s to a Butlins in Minehead, is it? That's the only time I've really experienced one, because as I say, we always end up going to relatives for holidays. Once I had the chance of going abroad, early doors. I was about 10, before the exchange time. I was in Portsmouth Cathedral Choir. I know, I look like a choir boy, you can tell it. And they were going to France to have a tour with the choir to sing, and I got chicken pox. And so we were all going with our parents, and my mum was given the opportunity to go without me, but obviously I was unwell, so she fucking went. I wouldn't have ever taken it away from her mum. She did a brilliant job, clearly, bringing me up. So she's a marvel and a wonder. But I was staying with my granny in agony with all these chicken spots. And she went to France on a choir trip. Wasn't in the bloody choir. I mean, I'm not holding it.
You don't want to waste the money, though, do you? You don't want to waste that money.
Not. And after 37 years, I'm over it. And I don't want to go on about it. But I would have loved going to France, but I didn't, and I ended up having chamomile lotion. Is that what you put on all over my parts?
Yeah.
And
you're painting a lovely picture in that, James.
Well, there's ladies who insist on this sort of discussion. If anybody wants to apply, you win the next mystery sound. You get to apply chamomile lotion. But that's why couldn't I have gone? I don't know. They're all scabbed over by the holiday. Sorry. Right. And then a year or two later, went on to see Gregor after writing to him as a pen pal for about 6-8 weeks. These were the things. I got one of these. Do you remember the Mastermind game?
Yeah.
I always thought it should be Magnus Magnusson, but it wasn't that wasn't that Mastermind, was it? But this is a mini travel version, and then we've got other little travel games here. Remember the little magnetic ones?
Yeah.
They were Tomy, which I never knew. So Tomy, before they did all the electronic Tomy games, do you remember the ones you held up to your eyes and all this stuff, and the Game Boy, which was obviously Nintendo? We all had these little handheld things. There's the solitaire up there. Be careful with it, just next to the camera. Can you see it to the right of the camera?
That one there?
Yeah. And this, what I love is, you'd open it, pocket solitaire. Can we see that? I think everybody had one of them, didn't they? Or at least most people had. And you open it out, and it's got all of the little solitaire pieces in it. And this, she's probably listening, because let's be honest, we hit millions of people now. Lisa Price, she's written her name in it. How to play pocket solitaire. I mean, I honestly used to play this on a coach or on the back of a car. Bloody mental, because all these bits are bouncing everywhere. They're jumping everywhere all over the car seat. And that's the solitaire.
But also, can I just say as well, with my parent head on, talk about a choking hazard for these millions of little tiny bits in there.
No.
How was that ever allowed?
It would keep you quiet for an hour, wouldn't it?
Quiet forever.
Why is James on quiet? He's choking on a bit of solitaire. Or you've got Major Morgan, of course. That would be... I mean, the electronic machines were lifesavers when they came out. Because, yes, we all loved these little handheld things. But when the electronic ones came out, I mean, obviously it was really annoying noise and all the beeping and bleeping. But in the back of the car or on a train trip, you could really keep kids quiet. Or a ferry. We haven't spoken about ferries. Did you ever go on a ferry trip anywhere?
Over to France,
yeah, of course.
Time.
Nobody flew anywhere, did they? I think, as I say, my first flight was in the 90s. So, yeah, unless you had loads of money.
Let me do a slightly more upmarket holiday for you now.
Oh, okay.
So we started off with horse holidays.
Yeah.
We've done Butlins.
Yeah,
now here's one that was so fancy. It was actually, I think it was Bernard Cribbins who's the voice on this.
Okay.
So this kind of dates it. It's mid-80s, but this is another one of the holidays that was advertised on telly at the time.
In a word, why are Travel Scene Britain's #1 in short break holidays? Because we offer weekends and mini weeks to Paris, Amsterdam, in all 15 cities throughout Europe? Because unlike some package trips, we try not to tie you down? Because we help your holiday money stretch a little further? Or just because there's no nicer way to celebrate a special occasion? Have a word in your travel agent's ear. Travel Scene. In short breaks, we're a long way ahead.
Now that was something more for the parents when they managed to get a break from the kids, I think.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you're going to take your kids to Amsterdam necessarily, are you?
To get tied down. Yeah, I mean, and the piano playing in the background. That was slightly passive aggressive, wasn't it? I didn't know that from Bernard Cribbin, to be honest. It's slightly kind of unlike other shit holiday companies. We don't tie you down. We tie you. What holiday company ties you down? You just turn up and have a wander about, don't you? What's he thinking? I don't know, bless him. But I reckon he's got shares in that because he was passionate in that little advert.
He was definitely passionate in that as well.
Don't go to the other places because they're crap. Just try us and wander into a travel agent and go, oi, horse riding in Northumbria. No, but you can go to Amsterdam where we'll tie you down. No, I don't want tying down. Oh, well, we'll go to another travel agent. Yeah.
I've got a feeling, though, that wasn't this just the beginning of like teletext and things like that?
Yeah.
So you were able to look at holidays on the TV, and I've seemed to remember, and I never ever did it because it always seemed like it must be some kind of a scam, is that you would see it by the time the page had come round, you think, oh, that's that page. There would be another, then you would still have to phone a number to book the holiday that you've just seen.
I forgot all about that.
On the telly. So you could do like teletext. For a while, teletext holidays were the internet of the time, weren't they?
They were really big. And people used to talk about it all the time, and it used to fry my brain because I thought, how are you doing this? Because we didn't have an expensive telly to start with, so we didn't have the hold button on teletext. So, do you remember we could hold it?
Yeah.
And so it would bring up the page. You'd be like, oh, that does sound good, doesn't it? Phone the number, and you'd be like, 070, oh, it's gone.
I'll tell you what would have come in handy in those days if you didn't have a posh telly.
Yeah.
One of these. Don't want to give it away, but that's this week's mystery sound.
Oh, God, teletext holidays. Yeah. It feels like I've missed out there, and I'm pleased that you didn't ever do it either, because I always used to hear people saying that they'd gone on holiday.
Never a teletext holiday, never.
Teletext, book it on teletext or something, wasn't it? I'm sure that was a phrase or a slogan or something. Someone will tell us. And it would sound so good. And they'd have a pixelated palm tree next to it, and the lady with a bikini, and when they got really complicated, and sunglasses, and then you'd go and play Bamboozle. What was it called? Bamboozle, wasn't it?
There was Boulder Dash.
Boulder Dash, that was it, on teletext. Yes, I know. And then you'd watch what was happening on telly that night and see the TV. I mean, it was just a great. Teletext was simple.
It was the almost the earliest form of what became the internet, wasn't it? And it was, if you can imagine, a really, really bad internet with no pictures.
Yeah.
Where every text page took up to 5 minutes to load, and then you couldn't actually interact with it. You still had to phone somebody up to do it. That was, but at the time it was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got our first telly with teletext on. I felt like we were rock and roll. I thought we were really making it now. We'd really turned a corner from our council flat days. We've got radio rentals, we've got the TV, it's got far too many buttons on. It's now no longer made of wood. It was black plastic sides. It still had wheels.
Remote control?
Had a remote control, yeah, but no hold button on the teletext. But it was just, you could press it, you could search stuff, and it was something else to do, wasn't it, when there was nothing on, when it was just that young kid and the weird clown playing noughts and crosses. You're like, okay, let's do a bit of teletext, Bamboos, Boulder Dash, whatever the hell it was called.
Do you remember as well, the thing is that we were so used to like TV being 24/7 all the time. There were many hours of the day where there was literally nothing on telly.
No.
There would be a break between programmes, and you would have the test card of the girl playing noughts and crosses.
Yeah.
And perhaps on the other side as well, they might be showing you pictures of almost like the Radio Times flicking. Actually, for people who didn't have to, this is coming back to me now, for people who didn't used to actually have their own teletext, they would actually broadcast teletext on the telly, so that even if you didn't have teletext,
did they?
It would actually be.
Oh my God!
They would actually show teletext on the actual telly.
That's cheating.
So there's what you're missing, everyone.
God, dear, oh dear. But you might every now and again stumble across Judith Chalmers. Was it Wish You Were Here?
Very orange, always very orange.
So she would show you all the holidays that you couldn't afford. And tell you how great it all was, and she was an expert at taking you to places that you could never.
Always very sort of, I'm going to say, upper middle class destinations that Judith Chalmers would go to.
Yeah, she wasn't going to Northumbria with horse riding.
She was not going to horse riding. She was not going to Butlins. Let's be honest.
No, or to a French exchange kid trying to work out where Le Piscine was.
So back to our home holidays and our day trips out.
Yep.
Maybe you would have been going with your parents or perhaps with your friend in one of these cars.
Buy and register a new Talbot in January and take up our special 2% finance offer, 4.1% APR on Sambas.
It takes two, baby.
On Horizons.
It takes two, baby.
On Alpines and Solaris.
It just takes
Solaris
two.
as well.
2% finance, 4.1% APR at your Peugeot Talbot dealer now. It takes two, baby.
To make your dreams come true.
Well, I say actually 2% doesn't sound too bad, to be fair.
Right, yeah. What travel agent am I going to get that deal, please? Oh my goodness, yeah. The car deals and the car dealerships where you'd go in and there'd be some guy in a brown suit and brown tie and side parting, give you a brochure or some sort of pamphlet about the cars. Oh, it's exciting. We never got.
These are the days when the seatbelts in the back were optional extras.
Yeah, the kids had to have seatbelts on, but the parents could fly out the windscreen.
Yeah.
That was fine. They wanted to look after the kids, and obviously we all know that the most caring person to do the adverts for Clunk Click every trip, looking after the children.
Absolutely, yes.
Was Jimmy Savile.
Do you remember the very scary advert? There was when they were trying to get people to wear seatbelts in the back, and there was an advert, and there was a mum driving her kids.
Right.
Mum had the seatbelt on, but the kid in the back didn't have the seatbelt on.
Right.
When you hear this will give you nightmares as it all comes flooding back.
Like most victims, Julie knew her killer. It was her son.
Oh God, yeah.
He wasn't wearing his seatbelt. After crushing her to death, he sat back down.
Jesus.
Think about wearing a seatbelt.
So there's her son in the back, not seatbelted up.
Yeah.
So her son comes flying out, crashes into her.
Yeah. Wow. And that was probably played between Blue Peter and Krypton Factor.
Would have I guarantee that people are going to be commenting on this.
Oh my goodness.
It's like those scary things where I don't play with the electricity substations.
Yeah.
It was one of those adverts.
But scarier than that was watching Jimmy Savile do Clunk Click every trip. Look after the children. Why do you want to look after him, Jimmy? Yeah. Although, tell you something that was slightly scarier than that. Train travel with the young person's rail card.
Look at that is show the if you're watching this, if you're listening to
he
this,
was the
you're not
face.
seeing it.
He was the face of the young person's rail card for about 5 or 6 years. Gary Glitter. You just sort of think. I think people weren't paying attention much. You know, I don't think people were really seeing what's going on here.
Things like all the safety things.
Yeah, look after the kids, please care for the kids. Why? I don't know. We just want lots of kids to be safe. Yeah, I mean, seatbelts were definitely a big deal. I remember sitting in the front. We were going. It was actually going on a long trip to Auntie Vivian's, and she moved around quite a bit. Stratford, Norfolk, and then Yorkshire, and we would always that would be our summer trip. And I remember the first time as a kid sitting in the front next to my mum in her Fiesta, and I had to put my seatbelt on, and it's like, oh my goodness. And my mum always was very sensible as well, but it felt such a burden because you couldn't just climb into the back seat and get your top trumps out or whatever, or find your Tupperware and have your sandwiches. You had to pull over and get them out then and sit in your picnic chair and with your mum, which we did all the time actually, Andy, so I was offended by that comment earlier. And you sit with your back to the road, not like these idiots who face the inside lane. But yeah, and seatbelts would just felt like the worst. But I mean, obviously you could go on a coach trip, no seatbelts.
No seatbelts required.
No, of course not, because 50 people in a car crash, not a problem, but one kid next to his mum, that is. So yeah, well, happy days. I just I didn't need to go abroad when I was a kid. I felt quite happy actually going and travelling about. Happy at home and happy going and visiting people and stuff. It felt the norm to me. Where were your typical trips when you went away?
Because I also went to a fancy school for a while. We did a ski trip.
What?
So we went skiing.
My God.
We went skiing. That was where I discovered at the age, I guess I must have been about 12 or 13. That was where I discovered that when everybody else had gone off skiing, because I was not a skier, that I discovered cappuccinos for the first time, which was like they had like a machine that made cappuccinos
in the 80s.
This was never ever heard of.
I've still not heard of them.
Ever heard of a cappuccino? I thought, oh my god, these are proper frothy coffee.
Yeah.
Not only that, I discovered as well that because of the enlightened way in which they lived over there, kids could just go to the bar and order a beer, and it was absolutely fine.
That's the continent for you, isn't it?
Yeah, very very civilized.
Yeah,
indeed.
porn, alcohol.
Final bit of car stuff as well.
Okay.
If you just think of all the cars of the 80s, just what kind of car would you aspire to if you were gonna, if your dad was gonna go and buy a car? What kind of car?
I mean,
would you hope
the Sierra was up there, definitely up there. Montego, that was quite a popular one. For me personally, I always like the Escort XR3i or the Fiesta XR2i. What one are you? What were you thinking?
I was thinking there was a car that was advertised on the TV. They chose Cannon and Ball to advertise it.
Oh.
Can you remember?
Oh, my goodness gracious. I can't, I do remember the advert.
This is the one. Here we go.
It's a Rover.
I'm here to tell you about risky motoring.
Me too, Tommy, me too. This is risky. This is risky. Make 'em have it, Tommy, lad.
Some people risk buying a used car when they could quite easily afford a brand new Lada. You can drive away any new Lada for only £99 deposit. Typical APR, 19.5. Did you know that, Bobby?
No, I didn't. No.
Well, you do now.
Yes.
Or only £99 a month. And you know what else, Bobby?
What's that, Tommy?
You're covered.
I'm not, you know.
Yes, you are. Your payments are covered against accidents, sickness, redundancy, and you even get free life insurance. And no need to risk third-party insurance either. You get 1 year's fully comprehensive insurance for only £99. And they're guaranteed for 2 years or 50,000 miles. So there you have it. Nothing can go wrong. Can it, Bobby?
Don't expose yourself to unnecessary risks. Buy a brand new Lada and make sure you're covered.
You've ruined it, haven't you? I thought you said risky, Tommy. I thought you said risky.
Just in case you haven't seen the advert, it was wearing women's clothes to make it risque.
Yeah,
to make it risque. But that was, it's all coming back to me now. One of my friend's dads must have seen that advert and been persuaded to buy a Lada.
Yeah,
and you could just tell, like, my friend's disappointment and embarrassment that his dad had bought a Lada.
You were ridiculed. Anybody who had Lada in the 80s was the absolute brunt of everybody's piss taking. Skoda was the same. And they turned a corner. Ladas couldn't turn a corner. That's the problem, I think. You just sort of went straight and hoped that it kept going. But, Lada, they had that joke, didn't they, is why the Ladas have rear windscreen heaters to keep your hands warm whilst you're pushing them. That was the joke that everybody said in the 80s. But Skodas seem to, I think they got bought out, didn't they? I think they still do Ladas. But not in...
I've not seen a Lada in this country. No.
Racist.
Can I just say, by the way, somehow Skodas have miraculously turned into Skodas now.
Is that what they
were always called them? We always called them Skodas, but now the new advert for the new ones,
Skoda, and Skol. Yes. So back to booze and porn and cars. We got everything. I mean, this isn't sort of misogyny. What are you talking about? Oh dear. Yeah. So good times. Cars were the key, weren't they, to every holiday? And you packed your boot up with your garden chairs, your man-sized tissues, your tartan rug, your boiled sweets, your cameras, your toys.
Tomato soup.
Yeah, tomato soup in there. And so many camera films if you had the money. Or we had to limit ourselves to 28 photos.
Good times.
Yeah.
That is where we end episode number 6.
It's been a fun one.
A reminder of the mystery sound this time, one more time. I think we've given some clues as to what this is. If you know what it is, drop us a little email or a message, or even better, a voice note.
Yeah.
One of these lovely super soft
Could be yours. Could be yours, as worn by me. Never worn by me. But if that's a deal breaker, I can put it on first. And I'm not jumping in a jiffy, but we can send it off that way. Or you can get 2 tickets to the Bring Back the 80s tour, which starts any day now when you see this.
Thank you very much for taking part. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We're up to 60-odd thousand.
I think it's into the 70-odd sound.
70-odd-thousand.
75,000.
YouTube now, so thank you. If you like this podcast, can we just say, do us and your friends a favour. If you think you know somebody who might like it, just drop them a little line and send them in our direction and say, take a listen to this, and we will love you forever for doing that.
I think people enjoy having a moment thinking about their childhood, so they're not focusing on their kids or grandkids all the time. Think about yourself. Be selfish just for one moment and take a trip down memory lane with us, and we will be here for you.
Said with the utmost sincerity, the utmost
not passive aggressive like Bernard Cribbin, actually.
So you're doing your Bring Back the 80s tour as well. I will be continuing to do my show that I've done for the last quarter of a century.
Superb it is too.
On Wave 105, thank you very much indeed. At least you listen to it, Mother Half never does.
No, well that's because I love you, Andy.
As I say. So that's what you can find me on Wave 105 evenings and Sunday mornings, but apart from that, that is our podcast for this week. Number 7 coming next time. Don't ask me, James, what it is next time.
No.
It's going to be a surprise for all of us. We'll know when we're doing it. But until then, we will see you next Tuesday. Thanks for listening to this week's edition. We'd love it if you could subscribe in your favourite podcast app. And don't forget, there's a video version on YouTube too. You can contact us using the links in the show notes and on the YouTube channel. And we'll see you next time for another edition of Bring Back the 80s.